Page 3, I always like to run a scenario of what happens if you do not adjust electric rates, because I always say doing nothing is doing something, or indecision is actually a decision. So this is the scenario if rates are not adjusted. You can see on line 1 revenues remain constant, and there are 3 main components that will signal a rate increase. The first one being net incomes. And this one's a little harder to explain, but essentially, even as a municipal, as a nonprofit, you have to earn a return on your investments because those investments are depreciating. So it's a capital-intensive business, just like the water, wastewater, or other utilities. You have a lot of investments out on the system, and like I've talked about, anything down to meters, your poles, your transformers, all those things you have invested and they're depreciating. So you need to earn a return on those to recover that depreciation at least. In the case of municipals, you don't have a shareholder or someone to pay profit to, so you don't have to earn as high of a return as you do, say, an investor-owned utility. So in the case of a municipal, we tend to recommend somewhere between 4 and 9%. Investor-owns are sometimes allowed to earn in the double digits. Now, where it falls in that 4 to 9% is dependent on your risk. And right now, there are some risks to Lakeview being obviously in a weather-prone condition and having some cash reserve constraints. We're not at the low end, but at the same time, you don't have any large existing debt, so we don't have to earn something at the high end. So for the case of right now, and I'm talking about lines 17 through 19, I'm recommending a 6% return on your investment. So you can see right now in 2010 that we actually had a net operating income of negative $84,000, and I'll get into the reasons why that was the case. And we're recommending a net income target of $156,000. Does that mean we all of a sudden need to have an increase to jump in that 1 year? Not necessarily. That leads us to the other driver of an increase, which is your cash reserves. This will be lines 37 through 30 and 38. These 2 items are the other thing that can drive an increase, basically saying to have, you have to have cash reserves in your utility to operate it. It's a business, you have to operate it. Anybody who operates a business knows you need to have some cash reserves to operate. I'm going to go into what we're recommending in line 38, which is a cash reserve policy and the components that are made up into that number. And so I'll go over how we arrive at those numbers and why they change from year to year. But you can see with the ice storm and some of the things that have happened, you can see where your cash reserve essentially is at as of now in line 37. So those are the 2 principal drivers that signal you need an increase. The third one, sometimes if you have existing debt, the bank, there can be bond covenants that say you need to have a certain amount of net income on your debt ratio. That's not the case right now, but there is a third driver. So we're really looking at net incomes and cash reserves. So obviously with no rate adjustments, meaning if you don't adjust electric rates at all, you can look at lines 37 and line 17 and see what happens from year to year. And so I always like to show that scenario as, of why we're recommending what we recommend.